everybody, this is Dave Walsh, host of Card Talk, coming back at you this week with another playthrough in my theatrical campaign. And in this scenario, we're taking on The Passing of the Grey Company. And bummer is I had this episode already recorded and halfway edited and then realized that I'm using a different Aragorn than the first Aragorn we used. So here we are, we're going to take this on again and we're going to beat it. So before we get set up, let's take a look at the campaign log and look at the deck. So if you look at the deck, it's the normal Bond of Saga Ship campaign deck that we've been using for Hobbit heroes. And in this case, I'm thankful that I'm using 4 Hobbit heroes with low starting threat, because in this scenario, the second quest stage has as many quest points as I have threat. So I have to do all I can to reduce my threat and keep my threat low so I don't have to quest for a ton. More than any other quest, this quest directly forces you to raise your threat. Everything you're doing in this quest is threat raises, can't lower your threat. It's crazy. Anything that's going to help me quest, anything that's going to help me lower threat or keep my threat low. There is a mechanic in the second stage that doesn't let me lower my threat past my initial starting threat. So questing here is going to be big. Let's take a look at the campaign log. You can see the passing of the Grey Company here, and there's not much different from the previous Aragorn quest. I did, from my previous quest, the one right before this, I was swapping out Mithril Shirt for Anduril, and I get to use the Palantir of Orthanc if it comes out. I don't have to worry about Gandalf's delay. I don't have to worry about the Frodo burdens because this is an Aragorn quest. I do have a +2 threat penalty there. So let's take a look and get started setting up the quest. So let's start by setting up the campaign card. It says each player may change heroes without incurring the +1 threat penalty. I'm not going to do that. The first player may raise each player's threat by 1 to search his deck for Anduril and add it to his hand. I will look for Anduril and add it to my hand. So normally I would take this and I've already shuffled in all these boons and burdens, but I wanted everybody to see what I have, and then I would do the setup on the scenario. Then it says to remove the burdens that have to do with Frodo. So let's set up the boons and burdens here. We have Old Bogey Stories. That's going to go on to Sam and Tireless Ranger.
He's one of them rangers.
Has to go on Sam. It's a permanent, so Sam is always a Tireless Ranger. And then Forewarned always goes on Sam as well. The Palantir of Orthanc goes into my deck, and Sting also goes into my deck. So those are the boons. I'll shuffle my deck up. Overcome by Grief, that goes into the staging area here to the left. It doesn't interact with anything in the staging area, so that's okay. And then Pursued by the Enemy is going to go into this deck. I will shuffle this up. Setting up the quest, it says set the Stone of Eric and the Army of the Dead aside out of play. And so you can see the Stone of Eric and the Army of the Dead side out of play. And then it says each player attaches a copy of Overcome by Fear to his threat dial. Let me just tell you, there's never a campaign that does anything more to try to attach an objective burden to you than this scenario. This scenario, everything is all about putting Overcome by Fear. And Overcome by Fear in other scenarios is not horrible, but it's that extra threat raise, and then you end up having to spend 1 fellowship resource, and that becomes frustrating because Aragorn ends up being resource poor. Overcome by Fear is something we don't want to have attached at the end of the game. So I'm going to take the other Overcome by Fears and put them here. It says remove each unattached Overcome by Fear from the game, which we did. Now we'll flip this over, and it says when revealed, each player may add 1 resource to the pool of each hero he controls. Each player does so must raise his threat by 3. Okay, so I did have a starting threat penalty of 2. So actually my starting threat here is 28. That's my starting threat in this scenario. Okay, and then I am going to take the extra resources. And then it says at the end of the planning phase, discard all cards in play from each player's hand and advance to stage 2A. So I have to get a whole bunch of stuff out as fast as I can. So let's start. First round. Here we go. Okay, I do get Sting. I forgot to shuffle. No, I did shuffle the deck. Oh, wow. I shuffled my deck, and Sting is on top. So this is going to make life really easy for what I'm going to do. Okay, so I have to put Andrel into play.
Anduri, a flame of the west, forged from the shards of Narsil.
Then I'm going to put Sting into play onto Sam.
Sting. It's a good name. Sting.
Then I'm going to put Gandalf into play.
A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
And lower my threat by 5. That's all 10 of my resources. But I think those are resources well spent. Okay, so I'll discard each of my cards because I'm going to go... this is the end of planning. Now we get rid of this.
The way is shut. It was made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it. The way is shut.
And it says each player searches and looks for a location and adds it to the staging area. Shuffle the encounter deck. Okay, so we'll flip this over, and it says X is the threat of the player with the highest threat. That's me. I'm the only player here, so that's 27. And it says each player cannot reduce his threat below his initial threat level. So that's, for me, that'll be 28 again. At the beginning of the planning phase, each player must choose either raise your threat by 1, or you cannot play cards this phase. Time to quest. Mary doesn't do me any good because Mary can't lower my threat, so I'm going to quest with him. So that's 2. So I'm questing for 16, and there's 1 in the staging area. We get a Faithless Dead.
What say you?
You waste your time, Aragorn. We had no honor in life, we have none now in death.
It says Peril and Phantom. So this Phantom keyword is really interesting because what it does is whenever we're supposed to take damage, instead it goes towards my threat. So I have to raise my threat instead of taking damage. But it says either raise each player's threat by 2 or reveal an additional encounter card. Guess what? That's going to be threat by 2. Okay, so I have 3 versus 16, so I make 13 progress. I am not going to travel to the Haunted Path. What I'm going to do is I'm going to engage the Faithless Dead. By engaging the Faithless Dead, that readies Sam. Sam gets his bonus, and now I can deal this guy a shadow card. So I'll defend with Sam. I'll discard a card. 2 threats, so Sting deals 2 damage to this guy. I will get rid of the shadow card, and Sam takes no damage. And now I am going to attack back with Aragorn, and Aragorn's attacking for 4. It kills the Faithless Dead. That was a fairly decent first round. And now, let's see, Overcome by Fear. It says, at the end of the round, raise your threat by 1. Then you may spend, I don't have the 1 to spend, so I'm okay with that. I'll get rid of Gandalf. I don't have any funny refresh actions to do or anything like that. Next round. So I'm not going to play this yet. I don't have the resources. Okay, so my threat is above my starting threat, but not enough, at least right now, for me to worry about it. So I'm going to do 2. So 12 versus just 1 in the staging area. This thing will trigger when I get 35 or higher, but that's not me right now. So I get a Dead Man of Donharrow. It says, engages you, either attach Overcome by Fear to a threat tile or raise your threat by 2. Okie doke. It's a bummer. Okay, but my threat goes up by 2, and that means I make 9 progress. 21, I could have used Mary to lower my threat, but it's no big deal. I am going to engage this guy. His engagement cost is 30, and I have a threat of 31, so that's not going to help Sam. Sam can't ready. I have to raise my threat by 2, and then I can deal this guy a shadow card. I will use Aragorn to defend, no shadow, and I will actually use Anduril and attack back and kill the dead men of Dunharrow.
None but the King of Gondor may command me. That line was broken. It has been remade.
So far, so good. It's the end of the round, so at the end of the round I have to raise my threat by 1, and then I am going to spend the 1 resource, and I'm going to try like heck to not have this attached to me by the end of at the end of the game. All I do is move it down. If it's attached, I put it up here. If it's unattached, I put it down here. I want to keep this for the Battle of the Pelennor Field, I think. Okay, well, right now this thing has a threat of 2, but is doing less damage by sitting in the staging area. So I will quest. Let's see, I'll quest for 2. I'll leave Mary up. So I'll quest for 2. So 10 versus 2. Doomed 1. Surge. I don't have any enemies engaged with me. That's kind of a good time to see that. Now I get the the Oathbreaker. Okay. Either attach, set aside, overcome by fear, or ghosts of men make an immediate attack against you. I will set aside this. I will also use Mary and lower my threat by 3. So I do have now 5, and I make 5 progress. Now, can I kill this guy? Maybe. And sure defend him. I will engage him. That readies Sam. Deal a shadow card. I will defend with Sam. I will use Sting. No damage. I'll get rid of the shadow card. I can attack with Aragorn. Attack Aragorn back, or with Aragorn, and that does 3 damage to the ghosts of men. So now I'm at this place which is super weird. Where I may get through the quest next round, and that's a little strange. I may not want to get through the quest. I don't think I'll be able to get through the quest, but I may have actually been able to put an extra, because I lowered my threat after, let's see, after an enemy is revealed. So I did, so I'm actually able to put an extra progress on here, because my threat is lower than 35 when I had to calculate all that stuff, so it's actually an extra threat. At the end of the round, overcome by fear triggers, so I raise my threat by 1, and I will pay the 1 resource. This is the pain in the neck about overcome by fear, is that you just end up having to spend a resource off of Aragorn every round to get rid of it. Okay, so that's going to happen, and Control N, new round. Warden of Healing is not, I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't do as much good because the damage is always going to be taken as threat, at least for now. Quest, I guess. I'm going to not raise my threat. Okay, so I will do, let's see, 2. So that's 8. I'm not going to quest with Sam because I don't have a way to ready him, and I need to be able to defend this guy. So that's what's going to happen. So 8 versus 2. Whispers in the Dark. Either attach, set aside, overcome by fear, or each character you control gets -1, -1, -1 until the end of the round. So I think I'm going to take the -1, -1, -1. I am going down to 4 here. So that means I still make 2 progress. This guy gets a shadow card. Sam is defending for 2 only. Hopefully Sting kills it. It's just 1. Does 1 damage. Okay. Bummer. And I'll get rid of the shadow card. Oh, actually, I'm defending for 3. 1, 2, and Sting is 3. Okay, so no damage. And then Aragorn swings back and kills this guy. So this is the first time I don't have Overcome by Fear attached to anybody. So that's good. Okay, here we go. So now I'm getting to the point where I have a bunch of cards, and it may be reasonable to raise my threat and play them. I'll raise my threat by 1, and now I'll play cards. So I'll get rid of all these, and I'll play this onto Falco, and this onto Sam. I'll play the Palantir onto Aragorn for free, and the Warden of Healing over here for 2. Now quest 3. Quest for 13. Attach set aside by fear to your threat tile, or take -1. Let me make sure that I got that right from last time then. So this is actually +1 because I would have taken a damage from it, and then I still would have been able to kill it. That's what I'm doing. I'm not attaching Overcome by Fear. So now what do we get? I missed it by 1. Hello, Warden of Healing. Who quest for 1? I did quest successfully, so I'll give myself a resource. This is a dead card because this only gets attached to the ring bearer. 2. So I'll do 3. 10 again. Holy cow. All 3 like right in a row. So I think this time I am going to attach the set aside, the Overcome by Fear, because I don't want to lose the stats, because I'm going to have to defend the Army of the Dead, and that's going to be bad news. So I attach Overcome by Fear, and I make 8 progress. So I make it out of here. It says, add the Stone of Eric and Army of the Dead.
The dead do not suffer the living to pass.
You will suffer me.
It was made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it. The way is shut. Now you must die.
Each player may raise his threat by 3 to detach Overcome by Fear from his threat dial and set it aside out of play. So why would I want to spend 3? I'm gonna just leave it attached. This scenario, you can accidentally win. We want to beat the Army of the Dead. The Army of the Dead we need for the next scenario. We just need to try to kill the Army of the Dead before we travel to the Stone of Eric. We are traveling. I will go there. Now I think I am going to engage this guy. Oh, I did quest successfully, so I'll give myself the extra resource. Now that readies Sam, and it says, when the Army of the Dead attacks you, you must either attach a set aside Overcome by Fear to your threat dial or discard an ally I control. Well, I'll get rid of the Warden of Healing, and I'll be okay with that. He's immune to player card effects, plus he's unique. He's got all sorts of things going on, so I can't get rid of his shadow, but I do have +1 from his engagement, so that's 2, 3, 4, +2, so 6. So I will defend with this guy, and he's going to make his attack, so I have to lose this. It says attacking enemy gets +1. So he's got the Phantom keyword, that's an extra 1, and now I will swing back with Aragorn for 4 and Merry for 5. So I do have to raise my threat by another 1 because I have our Overcome by Fear attached. So now questing. We have 5 to get over. So there's 5, 8, and I have 5 going on here. So let's see what we get. It says each player must choose either attach, set aside, or discard an ally. So Overcome by Fear is already attached, and I don't have any allies. So that whiffs. So I make 3 progress here. Deal a shadow card. Sam will defend. Again, I can't get rid of the shadow card, and I can't use Sting's response. He's immune. And now I'm only defending for 5, but that's okay. It says attacking gets +1. So instead of 2 damage, it's the Phantom, so I have to take this. So Aragorn will swing back for 4, and then there's 5. I'm going to play this for 1. That's 6, 7. The Army of the Dead goes into the victory display. I did quest successfully, by the way. So now at the end of the round, I will raise my threat. I will spend the 1 this time and detach Overcome by Fear. I got to get through this pretty quick. So 3, 13 against 5. There's a Faithless Dead.
What say you?
You waste your time, Aragorn. We had no honor in life, we have none now in death.
I will lower my threat by 2, and then I'll raise my threat by 2. So that's 7. And now I will travel to the Stone of Eric. I'll remove 5 progress, and I'll go looking for an Oathbreaker.
What say you?
You waste your time, Aragorn. We had no honor in life, we have none now in death.
This guy comes down. Both of them come down. I don't have anything that I can do, except I can defend 1 with the Aragorn. Either raise your threat by 2 or return the attacking enemy to the staging area after this attack. I'm okay with that. Okay, and then I will attack back and do 3 damage to it.
None but the King of Gondor may command me.
That line was broken. It has been remade.
This goes back to the staging area, and now I will take this guy undefended. Attacking, he gets +1. Whew. Okay, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. So I'm awash in resources. But all I have to do is get through all of this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to YOLO quest at this point. So there's 3, 6, 8, and I'm going to target this Faithless Dead with Bilbo. 8 and 5 is 13, so 16. 16 versus 2. Good Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise. I hope to get through this. And we get a 3-threat location. So we quested successfully. So this is done. This is done. And I do get a resource here. And let's see here. I make 11 progress. I made it through. So there it is. That's the passing of the Great Company. It's probably the biggest race in the game. Even bigger race than the Uruk-hai. I have to fill out my campaign log here. Let's see. So I have 126. And then what does this say? It says I don't have Overcome by Grief or Overcome by Fear attached to my threat dial. And the Army of the Dead is in the victory display.
We fight.
Let me fill in my campaign log. I played this on 12.5. I did earn the Army of the Dead. I never earned Overcome by Fear. Okay, my final score was 126. So join me again next time as I take on the Siege of Gondor with the Army of the Dead that I just earned. Have a great day, everybody.